Church, Chris has jumped off of Alyssa's merry-go-round, and I respect the hell out of him for it. I got my notes. I hope y'all got yours. Let's get on into this damn mess. All right, y'all, let's jump on into our general couple updates because there weren't really a lot of, big group hot topics this episode, since it was really about the couple's individual interactions as well as them sitting down with Pastor Cal. So let's jump right on into Alyssa and Chris. And let's first talk about this Instagram post. Y'all, Chris put up an Instagram post saying that he wanted to defund the police, right? And what I really want to do when I talk about this item is I want to stay on message, okay? Because it's not about Chris putting up the post, right? It's not even about the post at all. It's that this is the latest iteration in a sequence of events where Alyssa takes peripheral information about Chris and she uses it as the be-all and end-all summary judgment of who he is. So it's not about the post itself, because she never addressed the post directly with him. She viewed the post doing whatever research that she seems to do on Chris peripherally, and she made that the judgment once again of who he is as a person and why they won't work as a couple, right? So I just want y'all to note the smokescreenation of the situation. It's not about the post itself, it's about her reaction to it. Now, moving forward to them talking to Pastor Cal, where she brings up more of her excuses. Y'all, the thing about Alyssa and the thing about Chris in that situation that I really, really respected about Chris is that he could have said a whole bunch about Alyssa. He could have gone through a laundry list of his whole experience of her and the whole time that he's known her on this show, throughout this experiment, throughout this experience. But what he did, which I thought was really amazing and admirable, is that he let her hang herself. Okay? Because Alyssa is one of those people that she's so self-unaware that all you have to do is let her start talking and she'll dig her own grave. And that's what she did, okay? She started talking about all the reasons why they won't, be together, all the reasons why it didn't work out between the two of them, all the times that she feels that she has tried in the damn relationship. And then when it looked like, nobody was really believing the BS that she was spouting out, she started talking about how she couldn't move into the apartment because of her allergies and the damn dog. Mind you, she has a dog of her own, but apparently, with 10 years with her dog, her allergies have magically disappeared, or she's gotten used to the allergies for that dog. But Chris's dog, she can't deal with it, even though the dog hairs are of a similar length and the breeds are, I guess, somewhat similar. I don't know. But once again, it's not about the dog. It's not about what she's saying. It's the smokescreenation of the situation and the fact that she keeps using all of these excuses to try to pull the wool over everyone's eyes. And one of the things I hate when people do is try to play on my intelligence, okay? Do not play on everyone's intelligence. You keep telling all these stories about why it won't work out without actually saying what the issue is, okay? And sometimes I feel that when you have problems with people and it just continually doesn't work out, sometimes you have to look at yourself and realize, what did I contribute to the situation that got us to where we are? And I don't think that Alyssa has the depth of self-awareness in order to even have that conversation or even start that conversation. So it was just amazing just to watch her just keep spinning around in circles and trying to get people on her side, or to try to, really get Pastor Cal on her side, who was pretty much trying his hardest to not roll his eyes in that lady face, okay? Pastor Cal is very objective. Pastor Cal is very dignified. Pastor Cal will work with you if you have something to work with. And that man did all he could to keep his face straight while he was talking to Alyssa in that moment. Now, for the moment we've all been waiting for, Chris says that this is my decision day and that he wants a divorce. And I salute him for it, okay? I think it's such a wonderful thing to come to the realization that something no longer serves you. This is no longer effectual for me, and I need to jump off the merry-go-round. Because in Alyssa talking, I want to believe that Chris had some sort of aha moment where he said, listen, this mess won't end until I end it, okay? And I have to jump off this merry-go-round. The definition of insanity is doing the same things and expecting different results. And he said, no more, I'm good. In my last review, I said that Alyssa was playing the biggest game of chicken in Married at First Sight history because she wants out of her marriage, but she doesn't want to be the first one to say, I quit, right? And I want to thank all of you for all of the comments on my last video where you said that, she's financially incentivized to stay because she gets a per episode fee of $1,000 in order to keep remaining on the show. So when you combine that $1,000 that she gets per episode with the fact that she already wanted to have the experience, you can see why she wanted to keep dragging this out as long as she could, because it was not only financially beneficial to her, it was beneficial to her on the experience level as well. So kudos to Chris for being like, you're not going to waste away my life, you're not going to waste away my experience, and you're not going to keep playing on my intelligence and stringing me along so that you can do TV, so that you can make some money, and so that you can also get an experience that is not beneficial to either of us in this situation, because it's really for married couples and not single at first sight. So good for Chris. And one last thing on this, y'all. Pastor Cal, like I said, he's a very objective person. He's always trying to work with people. One thing I noticed from his interaction with them is that he did not try to have them work it out further. And I think that's very telling. I think that in many instances on this show where the couple say they want a divorce or they can't do it anymore or they're willing to break up, Pastor Cal will be the voice of reason trying to ask, did you do all that you can? Can you give a little bit more? Can you see the person's other side? And note, he did not do any of this here because I believe that he knew that this was a lost cause. Hell, if he has been in America watching what was going down in Puerto Rico, there's nothing else to be said. So I thought it was very telling that he did not even try to keep them together. Moving forward, y'all, to Lindsey and Mark. Now, Lindsey and Mark's character arc this week seemed to center on a lack of control for Mark. And I really identified with what Mark was going through and the fact that he was trying to juggle all of these balls in the air. And unfortunately, the ball of Lindsey is the one that fell by the wayside. Now, listen. Since Mark got on this damn show, got on this experiment, he has had a lack of control, right? Number one, you get married at first sight, right? Number two, you get matched with a complete stranger. Number three, the stranger turns out to be Lindsey, who has an extremely big personality. And through your own estimation, it hasn't worked out with you and big personality people in the past, right? Number four, she caused a whole bunch of stress, struggles, and strife in your life down to the honeymoon with Olajuwon and Katina, okay? Number five, you get on the damn honeymoon. Y'all are already having issues with the damn group. And then you get the news about the bed bug infestation back to Boston that you can do nothing about when you're there. Number six, after the whole bed bug thing, then your landlord over here talking about that she's trying to change up your lease midstream. You can't have cats no more. And now you're worried about where you're going to live when you get back. Okay. Number seven, you get back and you're trying to clean out your apartment while still trying to be loving, honest, caring, and open to the process and dealing with Lindsey and her takeover spirit, which is admirable that she's trying to help. But y'all, I really felt that her takeover spirit was more aggressive than it needed to be, right? She was trying to make the man make decisions about, his stuff in the moment. Does this spark joy? If it doesn't spark joy, it has to go. Like, I understand it from a helpful perspective, but I don't believe that that's what that man needed in that moment. And I think part of learning each other as a couple is trying to figure out what that person needs in the moment and what I'm doing that's either helping or hindering the situation, right? And so the way Mark processes stress is that he recoils, right? And rightfully so. He was dealing with a lot in that situation. But in him recoiling, it's viewed by Lindsey as a personal affront, okay? She takes it as a personal insult that, you had this affection for me, we're having sex, we're, getting to know each other, and then instantly it goes from 100 down to 0, okay? And that does not work for her, okay? So when they sat down with Pastor Cal, it's really just a story of communication and trying to understand what each person needs in the situation, right? Mark was already dealing with a whole bunch of nonsense in his life, right? That man was already stressed. He did not need the additional stress of Lindsey being at her 100% of her personality and trying to have a takeover spirit. She might have needed to bring it down to about 35% and just played a supportive role and let that man work it out for himself, which is pretty much what Pastor Cal was saying. And in the same vein, he needs to be able to communicate to her without fear of If he says XYZ, she's going to fly off the handle, okay? Information is power, and you can't want the man to communicate with you, and then if he communicates with you, you can't bite his head off. So that goes with it as well. So it's really a story of communication and control. But I really don't think it's anything that they can't get past. I just think that until they address it, it's going to keep being a continual issue for them. Moving forward to Jasmina and Michael. So Jasmina did not move into the house first night. Now, y'all, I tried to give Jasmina the benefit of the doubt because she said she has, the dog and she had to get him into another doggy school. I guess where the Married at First Sight apartment is and where Jasmina lives is a different district, a different county. I'm not sure, but I was giving her the benefit of the doubt. Come to find out, yes, it was about the dog, right? That was the primary reason, but the secondary reason behind it is that they weren't clicking and she needed time to figure it out what she wanted to do from there. And listen, I understand it. Sometimes you need to press pause and get out of a situation so that you don't say something that you can't take back, right? And listen, the dog thing may have been legitimate, okay? Dog people, y'all drop down in the comments and let me know if it's a big thing to move your dog from one doggy daycare to another one cross county. I don't know. I'm going to liken it to a child in terms of trying to get them acclimated or situated, and you have to devote all your time and energy to that. So I'm going to give her the benefit of the doubt, but I'm still looking at her a little bit side-eyed because you got a mama, you got a sister, you got a family. At the end of the day, you probably could have pined the dog off on them and let them figure it out on your behalf and stayed in the house, even if you stayed in the secondary bedroom. But, that's another conversation for another day. Now, on to the actual issue between the two of them, y'all. Michael decided to lie about living with a woman, okay? And actually decided to lie about living with two women, okay? Now, let's just break this down. Jasmina asked Michael point blank, period, have you ever lived with a woman? And he said to her face, no, I have never lived with a woman. Come to find out, this man has not one, but two female roommates, okay? Now, the bigger issue, which I feel that Michael could not comprehend in the situation, is that Jasmina didn't care nothing about the roommates being female, okay? That is not the issue here. The issue here is your communication and you're trying to get around having the conversation about it. That's the bigger issue here. Because Jasmina already said, baby, I have a male roommate, okay? So I can't really say nothing if you have a roommate of the opposite sex as well. It is what it is, but we have a conversation with it and we go past. Now, I just cannot figure out why Michael decided to hold this information close to the vest to try to be intentionally deceptive. It really doesn't make any sense to me. I was wondering perhaps maybe he was trying to work off of semantics in terms of living with a woman means living with a woman that you're romantically interested in. But, he's not romantically interested in these women. He just views them in a roommate capacity. Could be something like that. But I really feel at the end of the day, if I'm trying to make those, equivocations and trying to understand it, I'm really splitting hairs, right? The main issue is that you were not forthright in your communication about it, and that's indicative of a larger issue. So continuing on in that vein, when they sat down with Pastor Cal, it was really just a communication breakdown. And it's really, it goes back to how they communicate. I feel like most of the couples' interactions this episode was really about a breakdown in communication, and Jasmina and Michael are no different. Did y'all really get into, though, how amplified Jasmina was in that moment, though, where she said, Michael, what we're not going to do is this, that, and the third? I thought that was a bit aggressive. So listen, one of my favorite YouTubers, Funky Dineva, always says you cannot do wrong to somebody and then tell them how mad to get. We do not know how Michael talks to her off camera. And I feel like that's the big missing link here. If he talks to her crazy and yells at her like she says he does, then by all means she has, carte blanche to feel how she feels in that moment and get her point across in the way that she did. So until Michael starts having some of these conversations on camera, unfortunately, all we can do is go off of what Jasmina says and also try to take it with a grain of salt in terms of what Michael is saying as well. Because he's saying, listen, I've been condescending. I have been, a bit argumentative, but I have not yelled at you. So it's really a he said versus she said at this point. And you could tell Pastor Cal didn't really know what to do, but hell, Michael was cutting Pastor Cal off. Okay, so that might give a little bit of credence to what Jasmina says. I don't know, but it was a real communication breakdown, and I hope they figure it out, because if they don't solve this problem, it's just going to carry forward into all the other aspects of the relationship that they're trying to build. Moving on, y'all, to Steve and Noi. Y'all, let's talk about Sushi sleeping in the bed, okay? Steve and Noi, this episode, y'all, is really a story of compromise or a lack thereof. Now, Noi got the dog named Sushi. Sushi got 3 beds in Noi's apartment, okay? But the dog actually sleeps in the bed with her, okay? So the beds being on the floor is more ornamental than anything. Noi tells the man when they move into the, shared apartment, that the dog is sleeping in the bed. He likes to be close to me. That's it. Like, that's the if all be all. There's no discussion about it. The dog is sleeping in the bed. It just seemed very final, very not willing to compromise. I didn't realize it then, but that was sort of like the seeds of the vein of non-compromising that was pretty much, paramount in their interactions this episode, right? So Noi goes over to Steve's apartment, and Steve is so excited to show her about his LED lights that he got in every room and stuff, and that he wants to take some of the LED lights to the actual apartment, where, she doesn't tell him in the moment in the apartment, but in her confessional, she says, absolutely not. You see, this is where I have a problem, right? Because if you want to get something, you have to give something, okay? And that's really where it begins, and that's where it ends. Nobody wants to feel that they're giving everything or allowing somebody to run over them and allowing them to pick everything, and they have no say in anything that happens. And I'm gonna tell y'all a quick story about dogs in the bed and why I have a personal experience with this. All right. So y'all, I have a dog that no longer sleeps in my bed. He actually sleeps outside the door in his own bed, okay? And this is why. The dog slept in my bed when we first got him, okay? And it was wonderful. We had the bonding experience. It was great. Fast forward a couple years, one morning I woke up, and you know how you wake up and you're not really fully ready to get up, so your eyes are still closed, but you're conscious, and you're smelling your surroundings, you're figuring out what's going on. Y'all, all I knew is that I smelled something funny. I couldn't place the smell, but the smell was so strong that I couldn't go back to sleep. I inhaled more deeply, y'all. It was the smell of dog shit, okay? I got up, and lie to you not, my bedroom door is right across from where the bed is. The dog was off the bed, and he was standing by the door, okay? Shivering and quivering real, shakily and stuff. And I'm saying, like, what's going on? So I'm dealing with the dog not being in the bed, the dog being by the wall, the smell that I'm having, and then I see it. Apparently, sometime through the night or sometime in the morning, the dog lifted his ass up and projectile shitted all over the damn wall. It was everywhere coming down, okay? I didn't even beat the dog. I got up from the bed, I picked the dog up, I walked to the door, I threw him outside, and I proceeded to Clorox, bleach, and sanitize it down. So I'm not a fan of dogs in the bed, but if it works for Noi and Sushi, then so be it. All I have to say about it is, just because it works for you as a single person does not mean that it's going to work for you in your marriage. And I think you have to be able to make that determination and to be a little bit open to compromise. So moving forward to when they sit down with Pastor Cal. And let's talk about these 3 kids. So Noi got in her head that, she has to have 3 kids because, she was raised in a 3-kid family. Her cousins have 3 kids, and it works well. You can want what you want in life, okay? And far be it from me to tell that lady that what she wants is not something that is necessary in this day and age, okay? If she has in her mind that she wants 3 kids, it's her right to want 3 kids. But listen, life happens, okay? And what all that Steve is saying is, what if we have a special needs child and we really only have the time and the patience to deal with 2 children versus 3? Like, are you at least able to compromise that perhaps 2 children is better for our situation than 3 in that imaginary instance, right? And it's not saying that, they can't have 3 kids. It's just saying, like, life happens. You know, what if we end up just having one? What if we have pregnancy difficulties and you have problems conceiving, or, you know, I have problems, you know, conceiving as well, because men have problems just as well as women do. It's not always the women that have to go down to the damn clinic and get the IVF and stuff. Sometimes there's something wrong with the man, okay? And that's a different conversation for a different day. But it really just spoke to that vein of Noi not being willing to compromise on the things that she wants. And then we got into finances, which I really felt that was going to be an issue for them when they got back to the real world. So the main issue here, or the main nugget that we really have to analyze here, is that finances for Noi are synonymous with stability, right? Growing up in the refugee camp, not having much, having to fight for everything that she had. She doesn't want her children to go through what she did, and she also doesn't want them to have to worry about money, which I get. Now listen, children are already expensive as it is, okay? One child is already expensive. You multiply that times 3, and now you got 3 children. That's why Steve is having so much issue with this, because first off, they have differing views of money, number one. Steve views money as a means, like they always say, the French and the Europeans, they work so that they can live, right? It seems that Noi is the opposite. She lives so that she can work, so that she has money, so that she doesn't have to go back to, you know, her upbringing as a child and being without, right? So it's 2 different views of money that are competing. It's Noi not being, you know, able to compromise on certain things that she wants. And it's Steve trying to reconcile, you know, his carefree attitude surrounding money and work with the stable and secure nature that Noi is seeking from a husband situation. So that's really where their breakdown is. So on the Noi side, I hope that she's able to compromise more, because it's not really looking good for her that she seems so stoic in what she wants and is not able to change. And as far as Steve, you know, I think that he's being open to the process, and out of the 2 of them, he seems to actually be giving the most. So we'll see what happens with that. But finances and compromise are going to be their main 2 issues, in my opinion. Now, moving on to Katina and Olajuwon to wrap this up. The first issue, let's get into the cooking, y'all. Katina, I say this with love, okay? But Olajuwon has spent the entire time that he's known you trying to bring out your assertive side, okay? And I think you're going to need to bring it all the way out, because this whole cooking, this homemaker, this home cooked meal thing seems to be this revolving thread that he keeps coming back to, which leads me to believe it's something that he really wants for himself and something that's actually really important. When they sat down with Pastor Cal, it was very interesting to know that it wasn't something that was that important then, but it seems to be something that's like of utmost importance now. So what I need you to do is, there's a way to be loving to your husband, to be amenable to your husband, to try to fulfill your wifely duties and make that man a home-cooked meal. But there's also a way to say, listen, I am not Susie Homemaker. So if you're thinking that I'm going to be making your breakfast, lunch, and dinner, raising your children, and being at your beck and call, that's not how this is going to go, okay? How you start the race is how you finish the race. So I think instead of, you know, it's good that you made the spaghetti dinner and you're trying to try, which is wonderful, okay? And I commend you for trying to try. I would just say you need to have an actual conversation with this man and get it out on Front Street so that the expectations are aligned, right? You don't want to get into a situation where he expects a certain level of service that you do not feel comfortable doing in the long and grand scheme of things. And that's all I got to say on that one. Now on to Olajuwon and his home decor and trying to get Katina to rate it or whatever. Katina, another red flag, okay? That man is attached to his house how it is. Every single time you brought up something that you didn't like, he had a rebuttal to it. You ain't like the curtains. Why you ain't like the curtains? I like this stuff. You ain't like the color. Why you ain't like the color? I want to paint the kitchen gray. Well, you can't do that because the damn granite is tan. Everything seems to be, you know, pulling teeth trying to get him to be agreeable to any change that you want to make, to put your stamp on it, to make it y'all home. So in my estimation and in my humble opinion, Perhaps the best thing, if y'all should stay together after decision day, is to sell his house and to get a place of y'all own so that you can put your equal stamps on it, and it could be a collaborative experience versus you trying to squeeze yourself into this role that he has for you, and also squeeze yourself into his life, and also squeeze yourself into a piece of this home that he wants to carve out for you. That's my solution on that one. Now, it's probably not the most cost-effective solution, but in the long run, it'll probably save you a whole bunch of headache from trying to argue with this man down to, the paint color on the wall, the damn coffee curtains, and blah, blah, blah. Now, when they sat down with Pastor Cal, my big takeaway, y'all, was that there was no consummation of the marriage, which shocked the hell out of me. I thought that after Lindsey and Mark, they'd have been the next one. Katina said that, she didn't want to have sex on the first night, which I understood, and she wanted to get to know him. But to find out that the no consummation was actually Olajuwon's creation, that was the more shocking thing. And so when they were sitting down with Pastor Cal, and he was inquiring as to why it hasn't been consummated, it was more on the Olajuwon side than it was the Katina side. Katina was like, listen, I'm open to it. He's the person that's pretty much stopping it. So in his mind, he hasn't consummated because what if it doesn't work out? What if we're good at sex and then we're not good at anything else and we sort of jump the gun, right? But Pastor Cal broke it down really well, okay? If this is supposed to be a forever thing, then there is no what if it doesn't work out, what if this, because you can what if and you can shoulda, coulda, woulda until you're blue in the face, okay? If y'all are feeling that you're at that level and your wife is wanting to take that next step with you, I say take it, right? Figure it out as you go along. I feel like that's what this process is. It's approaching relationships differently than you would in the past, but it's an accelerated type thing because you're in an accelerated environment, right? So don't be scared to, take her down, okay, if that's what she wants, because y'all seem to have built a semi-steady foundation that's okay enough for sex. Y'all are married people. Find out whether you're compatible in that way, and perhaps the closest that you may or may not get, let me be positive. Perhaps the closest that you would get as part of that act will help some of the other items in your life fall into better place. And that's all I'm going to say on that item. And y'all, I think that's really all I want to say on this episode. So if you liked what I said, please feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. Follow me on all social media at DatDamnDasher. And until next time, y'all, one couple is already divorced and 4 more marriages are up in the air. I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.